The Byte Show is listener-supported at thebyteshow.com.
Hello, everybody. This is GeorgeAnn Hughes, and this is The Byte Show. We are really blessed to have Joseph Farrell with us, Dr. Farrell, and visit his website, GizaDeathStar.com. And tonight is sort of special. Oh, boy.
Well,
We were talking about the elections, and I said, boy, we've got to record some of this, Joseph. And he says, yes, and it goes under the magic of social engineering. So what do you think about what's happened, Joseph?
Well, hi, GeorgeAnn.
Hi.
Thanks for having me back on. I want, first of all, to thank all those people, and again, especially that dear lady, you know who you are, for your donations. They have come at a particularly crucial time. I'm involved in a couple of very big projects, and it is so appreciated. God bless you all. Anyway, that said, well, let me preface this by being very upfront and honest about two things.
Okay.
Number one, I am not a political analyst. I have no specialty in the field. I am not a political activist of any sort. I'm about as apolitical a creature as you can be. That said, I tend to be, and I will be very upfront and honest about this, my political philosophy, such as it is, tends to be firmly conservative to libertarian in some issues, although many people would be surprised to find me in agreement on some points, and some very major points, with what is usually in this country considered to be the political left. All right?
Yes.
So that brings me to my second point. I am one of the what I believe to be the many disenfranchised in this country.
Yes.
Who look at these quote unquote two political parties and see that neither of them really are any more capable of representing them. In other words, I'm thoroughly bipartisan. I loathe, and I will underscore, highlight, boldface, and italicize that word, loathe.
Yes.
Both the dummy crooks and the Republithugs with equal vehemence.
Yes.
All of that said, what we just had happen in this country, and there is no way, and if you have been watching the political analysts, particularly on Fox News, which tries at least to get representatives from both ends of the political spectrum and both political parties, and get analysts that can be civil to each other on top of that, not like some of the channels that you, that you see where you have this galloping hysteria.
Yes.
But the general consensus on both sides of the aisle is that this was a bloodbath, quite literally, for the dummy crooks. And in my opinion, deservedly so.
Yes.
I am not at all unhappy at what happened to them. The only part I'm unhappy about is that the Republithugs were the one that did it.
Yeah.
Now, what do I mean by this? If we look at what's going on, what went on was a political earthquake that we have not seen since about 1938. Mm-hmm. And there has, to my mind, there has not been, at least on the Republithug side of the aisle, and you can tell how I think of the two political parties when I reference them as dummy crooks and Republithugs.
Yes.
Because neither have earned my trust. I will never vote, and I will be very upfront about this, I will never vote for a political party whose historical record has supported slavery,
yes,
has given us the slaughter of the innocent unborn into the tens of millions, that has given us the income tax, that has given us the very institution that is responsible for monetized debt called the Federal Reserve, that has given us the Ponzi scheme of Social Security,
yes,
and that most recently gave us a quote-unquote health care plan that they had to pass in the middle of the night behind locked doors because their own town hall meetings, the people were so angry. In other words, this is not the party of compassion, folks.
Yeah.
This is not the party of the people. This is the party of socialist special interests.
Yeah,
and I will be very blunt. I will never vote for this party, ever. I have never voted for them, and I never will, because of that record. You can be a moderate, you can claim all sorts of stuff, and you can actually be one in that party, but I won't vote for you, because I know the party political machine. We saw it at work, and
yes,
that's what this election means.
Yeah.
But on the other side, there is a realization, and I thought this most peculiar, there is a realization amongst the Republithugs that this was not an endorsement of them. It was a repudiation of the arrogance in the House leadership, the arrogance in the White House leadership, and very nearly was a repudiation of the arrogance in the leadership, in the majority, in the U.S. Senate.
Yes.
Okay? But it was not an endorsement of the Republithugs. And it's interesting to me that many of the leaders from that party, after the election and during the bloodletting that was given to the Democrats, that many of the leaders of that party came on and were very clear that this did not mean an endorsement of the Republicans, and that their time was limited, and if they didn't get their act together and turn things around and do so quickly, that their days were as numbered as was the Democrats who just got handed their walking papers.
Yeah.
All right? Now, again, I am not a political analyst. But what's interesting to me, GeorgeAnn, is the election depended overwhelmingly on 2 points. The first is, and in my opinion the most significant is the economic crisis that we continue to be in.
Yes.
And then the second issue was this so-called health care bill with its mandated carrier provision and its ludicrous 1099 provision, which even the president himself said that he would be willing to negotiate over. In other words, it's so loony that it even got through to him. It's loony. Okay.
Yes, it is loony.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Now, you know, what I'm hearing from the Republithugs, however, is they're all on TV and they're all being interviewed, and we've got to create jobs, you know, and this is the biggest thing and it's got to happen. But the problem is, there was an interesting thing on Bill O'Reilly, on the show Wednesday night on Bill O'Reilly. At the end of his show, he always has this little section where he reads letters that listeners have sent to him.
Yes.
Well, he received a letter that he read on the air, which I think is very interesting that he even selected the letter, okay? Because, again, he could easily have not done so, all right?
Yeah.
So, in other words, you have a major commentator that is quite clearly on the side of the Republican Party, all right? And he read this letter. He didn't give any commentary, but it's sending a message, a very clear message. And the listener and voter in California said that he had ended up voting for Barbara Boxer because her Republican opponent was one of these supporters of free trade. The very policy that has shipped all of our manufacturing jobs to China.
Yes.
All right? Now, I'm listening to this and I'm thinking, exactly. Because what have you heard from the Republican leadership that has just taken over the House? How are they going to bring real jobs back to this country? Are they talking about the two essential steps for reducing the federal deficit and for bringing jobs back to this country? What are those two steps? Well, we've been over it in Babylon's Banksters. You cannot reduce a government's debt so long as a private banking monopoly has the monopoly over the issuance of that nation's currency.
That's right.
Because when a bank has it, a bank cannot, to be blunt, issue currency. It can only loan it.
Yeah.
So there is never enough money in circulation to pay the interest on the principal that is in circulation. Debt can only grow.
Yes.
The only way that this country was set up in terms of its monetary policy is that the government issues real money, not monetized debt, but real money,
yes,
on the goods and services produced by the nation. In other words, real money is a receipt on those goods and services. Mm-hmm. All right? As the economy grows, you can grow the money supply. As it contracts, you contract it. Okay?
Yeah.
The argument of the banksters is always that, well, if governments take over the issuance of money, it will lead to runaway inflation. But in actual fact, at every point in history when you study the policy of these banksters, it is they who have promoted runaway inflation, not governments. Mm-hmm. The 13 colonies in this country before the American Revolution were issuing their own debt-free money, and we had full prosperity, full employment, and of course the banksters and the Bank of England had to come in and shut that down. And that led to the Revolutionary War. Let us remember this basic fact, which you don't hear in public school textbooks on American history, if you're lucky enough to even study American history anymore.
Boy, that's the truth.
So in other words, that's policy number one. If we are going to be serious about taking care of this runaway debt and being able to fund all of these wonderful healthcare projects that the dummy crooks want to put into place, mm-hmm. and all of these wonderful rollbacks of entitlement programs that the Republicans want to put into place, okay? If we really, really, really want to eliminate debt, then the first thing we ought to be starting to talk about seriously is getting back to constitutional money. At the very minimum, we should be talking about auditing the Federal Reserve.
Yes.
Who owns the shares of stock, and let's audit their personal resources too.
Well,
just how much embezzlement has taken place from the American taxpayer into the big estates with the swimming pools and corporate jets of those banksters. That's part number one. Number two, you can talk about sound money all you want, but you also have to have, if money is based on the goods and services of the state, okay, then you have to have people producing stuff.
Yes.
Okay? And I don't mean flipping hamburgers for McDonald's, and I don't mean working a job in a call center for AOL or Verizon or what have you. I mean people making cars, toys, toolboxes, television sets, radios, stereos, and what have you. That's what I mean.
Yes.
Okay? I mean real manufacturing. All right? The reason we don't have that in this country is, again, because of the Republicans under Ronald Reagan endorsing a rampant, full, laissez-faire international free trade policy. The only thing that did was it meant American business could not compete with the cheap labor of other countries, and therefore the manufacturing fled this country.
Yes.
So in other words, what is good for Detroit, folks, is not good for America.
Yeah.
So if you are going to be serious, Mr. Boehner, and all of you Republicans who are entering the House, about bringing jobs to this country, the first thing you do is you start raising tariffs to protect the industry and manufacturing base here and make it profitable for things to be manufactured here.
What about the NAFTA-GATT situation?
That, again, NAFTA-GATT is nothing but all of this loony free trade crap that the banksters, the Rockefellers, the Morris Strongs, and all of these idiots have foisted on people. Okay? They don't care which political party is in power. Because both political parties, it just happened to be the Republicans that instigated this. Nixon, there is a group of thought, a school of thought, that Nixon ran into political problems when he began to be opposed to GATT. Okay? And of course, Ronald Reagan came along, and it was deregulation and all of that, and basically eliminating any remaining federal protective tariffs that there were, with the exception of Harley-Davidson, which is interesting. Look at what happened under the Reagan administration to Harley-Davidson. Harley-Davidson was literally going out of business because it could not compete with Japanese manufacturers of motorcycles. And the Reagan administration imposed a protective tariff, and now look at Harley-Davidson. It's a profitable company, manufacturing motorcycles here.
Well, they're also manufacturing in China.
Well, yes, I know. That's my point, GeorgeAnn. You cannot have a manufacturing base as long as you are competing with cheap foreign labor. And we've literally handed the Chinese our country. If you go to Germany, the reason they still have a heavy tool and die industry in that country, and that it hasn't been entirely shipped overseas, is that they have tried to protect it. Okay? So let's wise up here in this country. This is the one point, this is the one major point on which I am agreed with the dummy crooks who told Reagan back then and were trying to wake the people up to the fact that if you endorse this runaway, nonsense, ideological, free policy, laissez-faire capitalism, you are going to ruin the country. And this is the problem with American politics, GeorgeAnn, is we are now locked into ideologies. And there is no party that represents the interest of the people.
Yes. Absolutely true, Joseph. It's like they seem to be okay, and then they get elected and they go up to Washington and they turn into nitwits.
Well, it is true. And again, this is part of the social engineering problem. Of course you've got nitwits going to Washington. Look at our educational system.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, of course you've got nitwits going to Washington. If you're producing people that can barely read or don't even enjoy reading coming out of college that can't pronounce the word nuclear, okay, and they end up in the White House,
oh dear,
with a C average, okay, at least the current president knows how to speak the Queen's English. We'll at least give him that credit. He is at least articulate, and he know that he can at least read. Okay. Okay. So, I used to cringe with the previous president.
Oh my
because, did we have a neuron and a synapse that lined up?
Too much sniffing.
Well, don't get me started. But you see, this is the problem. We have a bunch of nitwits up there who are, but the other part of the problem is they are so insulated from the people. And, the other problem is while the Republicans are goose-stepping gleefully into power right now, there is a big, huge problem looming on the horizon. And I hope people understood what they were seeing on those red and blue election charts on Fox or CNN or whatever it turned out that they were watching, all right? California and New York remain firmly in the hands of the dummy crooks.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? Now, politically speaking, these states and the party running them are insane.
Mm-hmm.
They are totally, completely insane.
Yes.
Okay? If you want to know what America will look like in 20 years with the Democrats running it for that amount of time, look at California.
Oh, Lord.
Okay?
Yes.
But the problem is, GeorgeAnn, we're coming up on 2011, and that means that the governors of the states and their legislatures are going to be controlling apportionment.
Yes.
Well, California and New York alone will hand Barack Obama 86, I think it's 86, electoral college votes.
Oh, dear.
He's almost already halfway there, in other words.
Yeah.
Okay? That means that even though the Republicans can gloat that they have taken control of a lot of governorships and even a lot of state legislatures, all right?
Yeah.
That means they are going to have to really, really clean up in the rest of the country.
Yeah.
In other words, the country is itself becoming polarized to the point where the dummy crooks will not even really have to really worry about the rest of the country. All they need to do is move more and more of their constituents into those two states, and they've got it.
Mm.
And this is very bad, because most of the country, you know, we saw the results in this election. Do you want people that have implemented the policies that they've implemented in those two states running the country? Well, the answer is no.
Yes, of course
obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously. No. Okay?
Yes.
But as the immigration policies continue as they have, you are going to see more and more people in those states, and therefore more and more electoral votes. So in other words, the prognosis in the long term, the Republic crooks, the Republic thugs had better wake up to the fact that you may fix things now, but if you don't fix, number one, this runaway immigration problem, and number two, if you don't put inroads into those two states, you can have all the others that you want.
Mm.
Now, it's getting so bad, GeorgeAnn, to the point that even a rather serious political analyst and commentator like Rush Limbaugh, and please don't get me wrong here, I don't listen to Rush Limbaugh, I'm not a ditto head, you know, like I say, I loathe both of these political parties equally. They are both culpable for running this country into the ground.
Mm.
They are both culpable. Neither one of them represent me.
Nor me.
Exactly. They don't, you know, by nature, I'm like I said, politically conservative and so on and so forth. So I hate the Republic thugs a little less than I do the dummy crooks.
Yeah.
Okay? But it's, you know, it's on the order of, you know, decimal points.
Yes.
We're not dealing in whole numbers here, folks. Okay. So, where was I?
Rush Limbaugh.
Oh, Rush Limbaugh. Okay, yes. Well, the interesting thing that Limbaugh said today was that, and he was impassioned and serious to a certain extent about it, is that he wishes that California would just secede.
Oh, yeah.
And quite frankly, GeorgeAnn, you know, I'm a good Midwesterner. I hate that state. All of the wacky, kooky, nutty, shady. Look at Nancy Pelosi.
Oh, boy.
Look at Barbara Boxer. Look at Dianne Feinstein. These rich, fat, bloated, beyond all belief, dummy crooks trying to parade themselves as the party of compassion and of the people.
Yeah.
They are so stinking rich and so out of touch that they can't even have town hall meetings where they're willing to be given the riot act by their own constituents about what they think about the health care bill that they rammed down everyone's throat anyway.
Yes.
This is not the party of the people. This is the party of an elite.
Yeah.
And that's social engineering, folks.
That's
you turn over to the government. It's like Senator Hatch said on Fox last night. He said that if the government can come in and tell you you must buy insurance, then they can come in and tell you to buy anything.
Yeah.
He's right.
Yes, he is.
He's right. Absolutely 100% right. So, that's why I have a few decimal points less loathing for the Republic thugs than I do for the dummy crooks.
Yeah.
Okay? But the fact of the matter remains that the Republic thugs, as they're coming into Congress, we've got to extend the Bush tax cuts, which I agree with, and we've got to stimulate jobs. Well, they have not said the one necessary thing that's going to stimulate jobs, and that's protective tariff. Mm-hmm. Number two, there is no real plan that I'm aware of. I may be mistaken on this because, again, I'm not a political analyst. I'm so sickened and turned off and cynical about this political system and these two corrupt as all get out political parties that I don't even pay attention to them anymore. I don't read their literature. It gets thrown in the wastebasket because they have not, over the last 60 years, since the end of World War II, at least earned my trust. But they have not entered this Congress with anything like what I would call a vision for what the country needs to be doing.
Yes.
To not only to restore jobs, but to restore the long-term national economic security in terms of technology, in terms of the long-term benefits to society,
yes,
and so on and so forth.
That's
They have not articulated a vision on this.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry. You cannot govern simply by platitudes, as has the current twit in the White House. Yeah. And on the other hand, you cannot govern simply on the basis of opposition to platitudes, either.
That's right.
Okay? So in other words, I'm thrilled to death. Don't get me wrong. I am thrilled that the dummy crooks took the beating that they did. They deserved it for their arrogance alone. Mm-hmm. They deserved it for the corrupt and shady manner in which that lamentable, stupid, execrable so-called health care bill was rammed down everyone's throats.
Yeah.
And then we were told by the Speaker of the House herself, we'll find out how good it is now that we've voted it into law. Now we'll find out what's in it. Oh, really? Okay. Now you talk about arrogance.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Now, I think what we're going to see is, I think the Republic thugs are going to make good on their promise to repeal that health care bill. They're going to attempt it, and they're going to force the president to, and the dummy crook majority in the Senate to overturn any Republican effort to repeal that bill. So in other words, they are going to have the political screws put to them. All right?
Well, Joseph, there's also the cap and trade.
Yes, I know that.
Allowing foreign investment to buy up all the damn water in the country.
Yes, I know that.
Oh,
I know
my
that.
God.
I know that.
Oh.
Again, if you're dealing with banksters, they want to collateralize the debt somehow, so what you start doing is selling off the infrastructure.
Yeah.
Okay? And you can get around this, I think, by having a vision on which both parties can unite, a vision which will put people to work actually building things.
Yes.
And a vision which will pay off big technological dividends. And you know what it is?
What?
Space.
Ah. Aha.
Now, I'm not saying the Republic thugs should abandon their promises on health care and so on and so forth, but let's look at the facts, folks. We have the Europeans, the Russians, the Chinese, the Indians, the Japanese are all, and even Brazil wants to get in on the act now.
Yeah.
Okay? Are all very, very serious about manned space programs and missions to the moon.
Yes.
Okay? We reaped, GeorgeAnn, in terms of total economic benefit. People look at the Apollo moon program as this big financial boondoggle, and all we got in return for it was a bunch of rocks. Okay? But there are hidden benefits to that program in terms of the technological impact it had on this country and its economy that are, in terms of the cost-to-benefit ratio, are just enormous. Mm-hmm. They're almost incalculable. Now, what I'm thinking that the leadership of the dummy crook and Republican parties need to do is realize that this country is going to end up a third world technological backwater.
Yeah.
If we do not maintain a first-class presence in space. My word, right now, we are going to be reliant on the Russians after we retire our space shuttle.
Oh.
We have allowed this program to languish. And what it needs is real, genuine, bipartisan vision to see that this is a way to put people back to work in this country at real jobs, making real things that are going to pay technological benefits to this country. To this country. And I defy you to find me one nut like Nancy Pelosi or one nut. I can't think of a nut right off the top of my head on the Republican side, but I'm sure if you search long and hard enough, you'll find plenty of them.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I can say nut in a certain sense with Congressman Boehner, who looks like he's going to be the leader of the new House. Okay, fine, Mr. Boehner. You want to talk about jobs? What's your plan?
Yeah.
Just maintaining the Bush tax cuts? That's it?
Yeah.
You've got no more vision than that? That's nutty. We're at a crossroads here, economically, culturally as a nation, and in terms of the competition in the rest of the world that we have now.
Yes.
With very, very sophisticated, powerful players on the field.
Oh, yes.
And they're going to the moon, like it or not. President Medvedev of Russia has said that in spite of Russia's economic problems, we are maintaining our presence in space. We have an opportunity right now with this Congress coming in and with this president who needs to leave a legacy, a positive legacy of his presidency. And so far he hasn't got one. Okay.
That's a fact.
That's a fact. Okay. This, I think, is a tailor-made political solution on which both parties can agree. Even the banksters can agree, I would think.
Yeah.
And it would work. You would have to enact certain other provisions for it, but it would work. And it might get these two halves of the same political party talking to each other and being civil to each other again.
Yes.
Now, I give kudos to the Republicans on that, because by and large they're much more civil than are the dummy crooks.
Well, I think they're more educated.
Well, I don't know about more educated. They're just less
abrasive.
Well, they're courteous. You know, there's civility. They're you know. I'm just dumbfounded sometimes at what I flip through all the channels watching the election coverage, and I was just dumbfounded at what I was seeing on some of the networks from the other side of the spectrum. You've got Fox, which they claim to be fair and balanced. Well, they're obviously pro-Republic thug, and then you've got all the other networks which are pro-dummy crook.
Yeah.
But at least on Fox there was a modicum of civility.
Mm-hmm.
I saw very little of that. I can think of one commentator in particular that just sent me in the way he was treating the people that he was interviewing.
Oh,
I think this man should be fired and given a job in Costa Rica.
Yeah.
I'm serious. This man is not a commentator. He's not a newsman. He's not civil. He's not courteous. I will never watch that network again, ever, because of what I saw. And it's time for everybody to wake up and realize this is the thing I think this election really means. And I think to a certain extent the Republic thugs got the message. To a certain extent, we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole teabag party movement, this was not a movement of people jumping on the Republic thug bandwagon. This was just simply a group of people like myself who are so mad, so fed up at the blind belief of these two political parties that they have an automatic lock on America.
Yeah.
Okay? But I've said it before on your show and I'll say it again. These politicians have to be made aware that they are a shunned class.
Yes.
We tolerate their existence.
Yeah.
But no more. And those town hall meetings during the health care bill thing where people were literally shouting at their representatives who were trying to tell them how they were going to vote and being reminded, no, you work for us and we don't want this. Well, they just got the message.
Yeah.
But folks, you have to understand, neither of these two political parties have any solutions.
Yeah.
Because they're not willing to talk about the principles upon which real solutions must be based.
Yes. Yeah.
We need three things. We need, number one, real constitutional money, and we need to start making the Federal Reserve
accountable.
And we need to start making it an issue in every election with every level of political involvement.
Joseph,
let me finish.
Okay.
From the level of your local dog catcher all the way up to the level of the president. These candidates must be made aware that where they stand on that issue is going to cost them your vote. Number one. Number two, we need these candidates to understand that this business of trading blocks and free trade is over. They either start supporting tariff policies and trade policies that are going to bring manufacturing jobs back to this country, or they do not get your vote. And if that means you cannot vote for the dummy crook or Republic thug, so be it.
That's right.
If they hold office by only a quorum of votes and that quorum keeps diminishing, sooner or later the government no longer represents the people, and regardless of how powerful a government is, it eventually falls.
Yeah.
The third thing is, we need a vision that can now create, regardless of the other two policies, that can create the jobs, the technical infrastructure that will pay long-term dividends and benefits to this country and to its economic security. And to me, that's space.
Yeah.
Okay? So, we're looking at the same old game here, in my opinion, GeorgeAnn. We're looking at social engineering. We're looking at increasingly, and this is the old Hegelian tactic, we are looking at increasingly ideologically divided political parties and voting blocs that are no longer able to get anything accomplished because you vote for one ideological extreme or the other.
Yes. Well, there was a lot of talk about examining the Federal Reserve, and they hushed that down.
Well, can we ask you to pause and I'll comment on that?
Yeah.
Okay, please pause. Are we paused?
It started again. Here we are. Okay, Joseph. They tried to do an examination of the Federal Reserve, and there were threats flying and da-da-da-da-da.
Well, exactly. Anytime you approach this subject, you're going to get that panic from the banksters and their lapdogs and sock puppets in the Congress, all right? But this is something I don't think that now is going to go away, and we cannot let it go away. This must now be made a part of every political climate and election. Like I say, all the way from your local election of dog catcher all the way up to the national level. These politicians, regardless of what they're running for, must be made aware that this is now on the radar screen and it's not going to go away.
Yeah.
It has now to become a part of our permanent discourse in this country. It's not going to be gotten rid of overnight, but it will never be gotten rid of until people wake up and start demanding each and every time they get a call from a political poll, each and every time they get a volunteer knocking on their door, and pity the poor volunteer that knocks on my door. Because
you'll have to have a football helmet. And
yes, that's right. Because I'm very, very willing to invite them into my home and sit them down.
Yes. Oh yes.
Oh yes. I'm very willing. Because I read them the Riot Act, and I'm not ashamed to do it. I let them know right up front, I'm not interested in going out and voting for your party, and here's why.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
We have to make sure that these people that voted these Republicans into office, all of us, must remain angry, and I mean that.
Yeah.
Don't let this slip away.
Yeah.
This was truly an historic election, but don't let these political parties turn it around and make it a referendum for or against them. It isn't that.
That's right.
It isn't that. We must remain angry, and we must hold their feet to the fire and put these items on the agenda and keep them on the agenda.
Oh, yes.
Until everyone wakes up and one or the other of these political parties goes the way of the Whigs and the dodo birds.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yes.
And if that means, we need real genuine a real genuine two-party system, because like I say, I am not a conservative ideologue. I do not and never did buy into this free trade nonsense, and on that score the dummy crooks were absolutely correct. But yet the American people by and large were sold on an ideological bill of goods back under Ronald Reagan.
It sounds so good.
Of course it sounds.
Trade.
Yeah.
Free trade. Very deceiving.
Of course it was.
Yeah.
Of course it was. Of course it was. Is it right to repeal every aspect of that health care bill? Is it right for elderly people to have to pay thousands of dollars for their prescriptions and can't afford it? No, of course not. We have to understand that neither party, the corporations, are not going to act in the interest of the American people.
That's right.
And neither is either political party. There are no ideological solutions. That's what I'm telling you, my friends. There are no ideological solutions. There is no ideological, political shining knight.
That's true.
Unfortunately, that's what American politics has become. That's why we're in this deadlock.
Oh.
At least the Republic thugs, some of their leadership understands that. Some, please hear that word, some of their leadership understands that. But hold their feet to the fire. That's the first thing we need to do, is make sure that the issue of constitutional debt-free money remains part of the political discourse.
Yes.
And it was because of the fact that it was part of the political discourse in 2008 that you had congressmen on both sides of the aisle talking about the Federal Reserve. But we need far more of them. Item 2, we need to make sure that they understand that the days of free trade are over. We must insist from dog catcher to district attorney. You don't get our vote unless you tell us where you stand on the issue of bringing the manufacturing jobs back to this country, and the only way to do that is through the use of taxation of imports made in foreign countries.
Yes.
And that those imports must conform to American federal safety standards.
Yes.
No more of this free trade stuff with China. No more. No more polluted food. No more lead paint toys.
Yeah.
None of it.
Well, you know, what I'm afraid of, Joseph, you know, right now people are really head up, and they're still fuming.
They have a right to fume.
Yeah, but it'll settle down. And that's what I'm afraid of.
No, I don't think it will. I don't think it will. But you're right. We need to guard against this, you know,
complacency.
This complacency.
Yeah.
Never ever again, dear people, buy the line of the dummy crooks of change, because they have used this line since Harry Truman and have not done so. You want to know why healthcare costs are skyrocketing in this country, my friends? Go back and look at the statistics of what happened when Lyndon Johnson began the process of getting the federal government involved in healthcare. Look at what began to happen. Use the federal government's own statistics.
Well, he was a big crook.
Well, that has nothing to do with it. It is the philosophy behind it.
Yeah.
It is the philosophy behind it. I remember when a visit to the doctor, me going to the doctor, cost my parents $15. Now, yeah, we've got effects of inflation and so on and so forth, but my point is, yeah, we need the federal government to protect us from things like child labor. I mean, if we turned it over to the laissez-faire ideologues in the Republican Party, we'd still have child labor.
Yeah.
We'd have no unions, no protection of the worker, none of this. So in other words, get out of the ideological box that the Republic thugs are the knights in shining armor, or that the dummy crooks are the knights in shining armor, and start thinking in terms of the nation and the political good of the people. This was an historic election.
Yes.
But it was historic because it was a vote against the system. And at least to their credit, some of the Republic Thug leaders got that message.
Yeah.
They know that they have a very limited time, or they too are going to be tossed out. The interesting thing about this business of protection, taxes on imported goods, do you know who gave an interview on Fox News who said precisely that?
Who?
Donald Trump.
Oh, yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
And he went so far as to say he's even considering a run for the presidency because he hears nothing but stupidity from the political leadership on both sides of the aisle in Washington on this issue of free trade.
Yeah.
And he went so far as to say, yeah, he meets with Chinese businessmen all the time, and they are just dumbfounded, off the record, that our political leadership is so stupid.
Yeah.
No, they're not stupid, my friends. They are in the pocket of the banksters and corporations that shipped all of your jobs over there. That's what they are. They are sock puppets.
Yeah. Yeah.
But imagine if Trump does this. Now that's a real shot across the bow of the Republican Party.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because if he runs, it's going to be another Ross Perot. And it's going to split the Republican vote. It won't pull away from the Democratic base. It will split the Republican vote. And that will mean 4 more years of you-know-who.
Oh, God.
That hasn't got the message yet.
Oh, Lord.
This is a real mess. Consider everything I've said. California and New York alone, those 2 nutty states, guarantee 86 electoral votes in the dummy crook column.
Yeah.
As those 2 states become more and more entrenched, deadlocked in that one-party system in those states, they will increasingly become less and less part of this country, but more and more determinative of the direction of it.
Yeah.
This is not what the Republican leaders are telling you it is. This election is the first of a long series of earthquakes. They have little time to get their act together.
Mm-hmm.
That's my amateur, pissed off, cynical, Midwestern, white American male, non-analyst position on it. Pox on both your houses.
Yeah. Oh, Joseph. Oh, it's just, I sincerely hope the people will keep up their anger.
Yes, absolutely. I don't care if you're a dummy crook or a Republican. Hold your representatives, I mean that all the way from dog catcher to U.S. Senator.
Mm-hmm.
Hold their feet to the fire.
Oh, yes.
Hold their feet to the fire. If you're a dummy crook that likes this healthcare idea and so on and so forth, well, you're just a nut, and, I'm sorry, I'm not speaking to you.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm speaking to the old-fashioned, moderate to conservative dummy crook and, the old-fashioned centrist Republican.
Yeah.
Okay? Hold their feet to the fire.
Absolutely.
Let them know, be a pest, bombard them with letters and phone calls every week. Don't go away. Don't walk away. Don't walk away.
Good advice. Very good advice. Oh, my goodness.
Because I'll tell you, if we walk away now,
yeah,
then we're going to end up like that 10% of the population in Germany that is so mad at all of their liberal policies over the last 50 to 60 years.
Oh, yeah.
That they want, guess what, folks? A Führer.
Yeah.
To clean things up and make Germany German again.
Yes.
Okay? Is this sounding familiar?
Yeah.
The end result of the policy of these runaway greedsters that have been running things is always the same. This is a bellwether election. This is a bellwether election.
Well, and another issue, too, are the pharmaceutical houses. That,
yes.
What are they? Lobbyists.
The only people benefiting, GeorgeAnn, from this so-called health care bill are the insurance companies and the pharmaceutical companies.
Yes.
This was not something. I'm sorry, Miss Pelosi. This is not something that genuinely helps the American people.
That's
You
true.
cannot tell me. I mean, nutty as I consider the man to be, even he got the message that the 1099 provision is stupid.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, the government itself doesn't have, there's not enough trees in the world to support that amount of paperwork.
Oh.
It is nutty. It's like Senator Hatch said, the bill was a piece of crap.
Yeah. I'm surprised he used that verbiage.
Well,
bless his heart.
I was too, And again, I have no love lost for the Republicans, but I thought, well, you rock.
Yeah. Well, he must have felt pretty passionate about it.
Well, I do too. I'm poor.
Yeah.
But by golly, I don't want the government telling me I have to buy this or that.
Yeah. It's just...
This bill could end my writing career.
It's dead wrong.
Of course it's dead wrong. It could end my writing career.
Oh, gee. And we can't have that.
I may have to pack my bags and move to Ecuador. And I don't even speak the language.
Yes, I know.
And if I were doing things the way the dummy crooks run things, well, I'd demand that, Ecuador become bilingual to accommodate my culture.
Yeah.
Which
you wouldn't get very far.
I wouldn't get very far, no. Of course not, and rightly so.
You might find a dead thing on your doorstep.
Well, and of course I wouldn't get very far, and rightly so.
Yeah. That's right.
It's their country. I learned their language.
That's right. That's right.
But, it's just, I don't know. Wake up, people. Wake up.
And
hold their fat to the fire.
And stay angry.
Stay angry. Don't let these Republicans off the hook.
That's right.
You put them in there, let them know you're watching every step.
Yes.
Every step. And that they had better come up with some real solutions for some real manufacturing jobs that are going to pay long-term technological benefits. And that's why I say I think space is the way to go, because on that score you have something practical that both parties could agree on if you can get them to sit down and be civil to each other.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
Oh, Joseph, thank you very much for this evening.
Well, thank you for letting me vent.
Oh.
I'm not normally accustomed to political commentary because I'm so repulsed by it. But every now and then you just have to let the guard down and let out all the pent up frustration.
Yeah.
I hope the frustration came through.
Oh, yes, it came through.
This is a good thing.
Yes.
I hope.
This is a good thing. And good advice. To hold their feet to the fire, make them accountable for everything they do, and stay angry.
Yeah.
Well, this ends this segment with Dr. Joseph P. Farrell. And you can email him at Vardas, DARDAS 3, the number 3, at AOL.com. And do visit his website, GizaDeathStar.com. And of course, you can go to the Byte Show, go to the audio library, click on Joseph P. Farrell's name, and his special page will open up with all the audio files that we have worked on. Joseph, thank you so much.
Thank you for asking me back on.
Oh, anytime. God bless everybody out there. Stay angry. Good night.
Night.
The Byte Show is listener supported at thebyteshow.com.